not only do they have these vulnerabilities, but it is coupled. Sometimes you can find a poor area and you deal with poverty, right? And sometimes there are areas that are volatile, but they're not so poor. Southside and Tel Aviv have both.
We may look different and live in different countries, yet our stories are knitted with the same threads of excitement, uncertainties, challenges, and victories. As we journey through the ups and downs of life, it is our undeniable will and God's strength that propel us to joy after pain, smile after frowns, and ups after downs. We were born to win. We were destined to greatness. We are overcomers. Welcome to GodScoop's raw and unedited stories. Welcome to Raw and Unedited Stories, the place where stories are told to uplift, encourage, and brighten your day. Today with us is a gentleman who is unbelievable. Can you believe this? His pulpit is not within the four walls of a church, but on the streets of Southside near the heart of downtown Kingston, Jamaica. Today, we will discover what would possess this young, brilliant man to give up secular pursuit for preaching and serving in the community of Southside. Welcome Dr. Carrington Morgan to
Thank
Raw
you.
and Unedited Stories.
Thank you, Pat. It's very good to be here with you guys.
Thank you. Now, before you begin to talk about your story, just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Right. Well, I am Jamaican through and through, born in Jamaica. I did a little bit of school. I finished high school in the US and I did college in the US. Then I returned to Jamaica, did some more school here, did school in Trinidad, but I'm back in Jamaica. I've been back in Jamaica for about 20 years. And again, I am Jamaican, a little bit exposed, but I am really a man who is from the soil, passionate about his country. I'm a churchman also. My parents are in the church. All of my family members are some way or another connected to church leadership. And so, one Jamaican, two churchman, and you put those two together, and my journey and my story will have both elements somewhere or another.
Very interesting. So, I know our listeners, like myself, can't wait to hear your story.
Hmm.
Talk to us about who your story actually. Tell us your story.
Okay, well, let me start in when I returned to Jamaica after about 7 or 8 years in the US. I returned at 23, 24 with a physiology degree. My my goals, my personal goals, and all of my desires was really moving towards medicine. I did a pre-med degree in the U.S., University of Louisiana, and my passion really was always to help people or to fix problems. I'm a problem solver, and I love to help persons. And so that's really how I came back with that type of mindset and focus. Now, I went to a conference, ITWLA, International Third World Leadership Conference, with my parents. My parents have been, a part of the leadership. That conference is with was with the late Dr. Miles Monroe. He led that group. So every year, my parents would go, and I decided to go with them that year. Now, when I went to that conference, something changed my life. Um, it was leaders from all around the third world, South America, Africa, of course, the Caribbean region. And something significant struck me. Now, again, I grew up going to church, going to conferences, but there was something different about this leadership conference. When I was able to not only listen to the speakers, but because I was within the family of a leader, I was privy to the some of the meetings off the air. So after the conference one night, very quickly, I went to where they met afterwards. It was a big boardroom with a very long table, and I didn't have a seat at the table, but I had a seat in the room. It was a time for them to fellowship, to eat, and to discuss the day's topics. So a long table, leaders going all the way down the table, and they knew each other. And what blew my mind, Pat, was that yes, it was a kingdom conference, but there were politicians, there were doctors, there were lawyers, there were professors, um, there were bishops, there were, you know, strict traditional church leaders, there were businessmen and businesswomen going all around this table. And I don't know what was, why, but my eyes were opened, and what I saw was a shift in my own mind that church leadership and kingdom leadership was not just for the pastors and the bishops,
Mm,
right? I don't know if that is groundbreaking today, but 25, 27 years ago, it blew my mind,
mm-hmm,
right? Because I, I grew up in the church. I wanted to affect change in some way. But I thought that if you wanted to be a leader in what God was doing, then you need to go to seminary. Good.
mm-hmm,
And so my eyes were opened that when God says kingdom change, then He's calling all of His professionals, all of His people who are at the top of their mountains to now come together for change. And so, very quickly, something shifted in me that first of all, I didn't have to become a pastor priest at that time to actually be a part of change.
mm-hmm,
That actually got me on fire for Christ. I was always a good enough young man, but it got me excited about God. It got me excited about what God was doing. So that was one life changing situation. At that point in time, I didn't um, decide not to do medicine, but over the preceding months,
mm-hmm,
my mind really shifted from from actually doing a medical degree to really moving towards social change.
mm-hmm,
And I remember there was another situation that shifted my mind more specifically to my journey. It was another experience that I had in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with Bishop Joseph Carrington. Him and his church have always been close to us, and I was
mm-hmm,
spending a few months there. And I actually spent about 3 months there to study for the MCAT. That's the medical entrance exam. So here am I in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, studying for the medical entrance exam. That's the U.S. medical entrance exam, and the church was planning a mission trip, a medical mission trip to South
mm-hmm,
Africa. And I'm saying, okay, this is perfect for me. Everything is along my lines of my level of interest. But what I found out over the next 6 weeks is that I actually got more excited about planning the trip and the concept of hundreds of doctors and medical practitioners being able to be pulled from around the world for this trip. I
mm-hmm.
got caught up in the concept of pulling it together versus being one of those doctors.
Okay.
And so so in reflection, quick reflection of that for me, I something hit me, which was I can either be a doctor or I can pull together the world of medicine and the world of business and the world of technology and the world of legal aid to now come and affect those areas. So those two instances really define my decision making. It was at that time that I said, you know what, um, there's another path to solving problems. There's another path to change, and it doesn't have to be medicine. So you can butt in at any time.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I was just getting ready to ask you before we continue to talk about that. Is I know that at the onset of our decision making, in terms of what we want to become, whether a doctor or a teacher, and so on, as children, we are influenced by those around us. And I'm thinking your dad, um,
yeah,
Pastor
Bishop.
Morgan,
Hmm.
Dr.
Bishop.
Bishop
Hmm.
Morgan, right? Well known across Jamaica, right? Did he have an influence on you as a child growing up in terms of your passion to serve others? Really?
Absolutely.
Let's talk
Ab-
about that.
Absolutely. So my father has always been a good role model and has always represented a good man who loves God and who's connected to God. And so all of his four children have been guided in the direction of through church we want to play our role. But the thing that affected me specifically through his influence was how he connected with the regular people on the street. Right
Absolutely.
there is, yes, we used to follow them to mission trips and children's homes and feed the poor and so forth. But there was this one story that that I'll never forget. We have we have an area in Jamaica which is actually a lane off of Red Hills Road called 100 Lane, something
Mm-hmm.
like that, and 100 Lane and Park Lane, and again, this might be 28 years ago. So this is pre me
Mm-hmm.
finishing school and everything. Um, they had another flare up of violence, and they asked a few of the clergy to come and walk. And that was my first recollection of a street community walk. And I went
Mm-hmm.
with my father, and what I remember of him is moving through the streets, moving through the living spaces of the residents, and his connection with them was life giving.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a sermon. It wasn't a pity party. It it wasn't you are bad or you are weak, or it was the passage of the life of the word being imparted to them in their actual situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
So,
It's not
so Carrington, so what I'm getting, that he connected with them by building relationship with them,
right.
and therefore that impressed you. So when you actually went to college, let's fast forward right back to where you were, because I want to get to the heart of your mission. Let's fast forward to where you were when you felt that calling, because I'm seeing as I hear you that it's a calling. You felt, you knew
Absolutely.
then that this was my calling at the conference. So let's
Good.
continue from there on.
So at the conference, my eyes were opened. My eyes were open to a pathway that that I could choose to go down. And so I made a decision at that time to move towards helping to build systems, helping to build projects. I mean, at that time, I wasn't thinking in a sophisticated manner. I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to help. I wanted to help to make things happen, right? And so for the next year, I channeled my time into helping my parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the transition happened when my father, who became bishop, was setting up his office in downtown Kingston. And so I wanted to help him to set up his office and his connection down there. And so I followed him down there, and for the next month I was there, literally just with practical stuff, logistics. And at lunchtime, what would happen is that because my parents already, we had some little connections with some little guys in the community, I would leave the office, literally step outside the office and go with them for lunch. Now, go with them means walk now deeper into the community to find out where's the best lunch lady in here. Who sell the best jerk chicken? Who sell the best curry goat? It was just me entering that space with somebody who was familiar,
All right.
right?
So, Carrington, that's interesting because I see the Lord leading you into a pathway
Right.
spiritually and also literally, right? But let's talk about when you got back from the States, from studying, and you came back to Jamaica, and you were ready now as a grown adult to take your path. What did you do, and how did you get to Southside?
The shift I got back to Jamaica with a bachelor's degree in physiology. It was a pre-med degree. And so everything I did for the next couple of years was year and a half was really geared towards being a professional. I knew I wanted to help, but it was more towards finding this specific area that I would be a specialist at. So I actually was not leaning towards being very socially engaged.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to be a specialist. So the disparity between what I dreamed I would be and what I've come to be, they're total extremes. I grew up wanting to be a surgeon who was a specialist in orthopedic surgery, and I could help people while they were asleep, right? And I loved people. I wanted to solve their issues, solve their problem. But my vision was in a surgery room as a specialist in something specific, solving somebody's problem. And then I would come back again in a few days and do it all over again. God has shifted me. And this is a shift. As you said, when I came home, that was my focus. My
Mm-hmm.
focus was how can I learn enough about a specific area so that I can make change? Can
Mm-hmm.
I be the specialist to solve your specific problem? It started to shift over to where I am now, which is I am absolutely exposed to people every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the first thing. I have exposed myself and become vulnerable in a way to all of the from granny down to just baby to
Mm-hmm.
everybody within their living environment being bombarded by all of their problems
Mm.
and having to really process all of their issues and find a way to in some way pull answers and solutions to deal with things in a social change type of manner.
So
So
let me
it's a
before we
totally
continue.
different type of mindset from
Yeah,
where I started off.
and also it seems as if you're a shy person too, right? Would you
Yes, I
consider
would more
yourself
say introvert.
right,
Introverted.
introverted, and then but your calling is totally extreme from your personality, right? So
Correct.
tell us, how did you get to Southside? Just tell us, how did you get there when you got home? What happened that caused you to say, okay, this is what I am going to do. I'm not going to take up secular
Right.
pursuit. I'm going to just
Right.
go to Southside and work.
It was that engagement with me deciding to help my father to set up his office. and then walking with the couple of few young men in the street.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have been a month of down there, going to eat with them one day, and then going back to them to walk with them the second day, and then saying, okay, show me where you live, and then be going deeper into the community. And what changed my life, there were a few practical mental things, and then there was something we can say is the spiritual, godly. The practical things was that I started seeing problems. I saw the problems clearly, but I also saw potential. I
Mm-hmm.
remember it very clearly. In those young men, I saw the potential for them to be change and to be the change makers in their space.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, why haven't other persons seen this? And where are the programs? Where are the things that can now come and help them?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I saw issues, but what really moved me and excited me was the potential of the community. Now, the why did I go back, and what has really drawn me, Pat? I can't explain that part.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a grace, the grace of God that came upon me to give me a certain level of love, genuine love for the people. Um, Everything that comes with what it has taken for me to stay there for 19, going on 20 years. The, the love that brings patience, long suffering, hope. I God has given me a consistent hope for better in the community, and the grace to not rush to leave. Good.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes you go work and you say, boy, it's 3 o'clock now, and you look again, okay, it's 4 o'clock, I can't wait, you know. Or, some people are flustered and ready to leave work because work time will soon be up. And in
Mm-hmm.
another sense, those persons who take the time to go to the less fortunate, after half an hour they're itching, or the house look away, or the sewage water is stinky, and so yes, you want to help the less fortunate, but after 45 minutes you're saying, Lord, I need to, it was good, but I need to go. God took that away from me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I went and sat on the corner, there was nothing in me. And if I go down there today, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing in me that is shifting and saying it's time to leave
All right.
because of these three reasons.
All right.
And that is something that is unexplainable. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have it before, but God placed that in my heart. I call it a grace.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as that grace is with me, I will continue. Mhm.
Carrington, Peter, Pastor Peter Morgan, and that's what they call
That's
you
what they call me in the
in
company.
Southside. And I want you to just give us a general idea. For those who are not from Jamaica, we know that Southside is the heart of ghetto area. We have soldiers and police officers who guard the area constantly because of the level of crime. So when P- Pastor Peter Morgan is talking about that, it is not something that many people would want to do. So talk to us, Pastor Morgan, about some of the challenges that these people are facing, real people are
Mhm.
facing, that you are connecting to.
Good. Well, the word that we use in the social sector is vulnerability variables and volatility variables. Vulnerability would be more your literacy levels, your the poverty levels, um, the volatility variables would be the uh, rate of violent crimes and so forth. Now, Southside and its environs. Those of you who know downtown Kingston, the Tel Aviv spoilers, the Parade Gardens area, those communities have both variables.
Mm,
So not only do they have these vulnerabilities, but it is coupled. Sometimes you can find a poor area and you deal with poverty, right? And sometimes there are areas that are volatile, but they're not so poor.
mm-hmm,
Southside and Tel Aviv have both. And
mm-hmm,
so it is a concentration of challenges for individuals from the child all the way to grandma and grandpa again.
mm-hmm,
So the basic social services, they may not have what is necessary in a consistent way. Good. And I have a young man now that I'm mentoring, and I'm doing my part in giving him some responsibilities at our community center, him and his group, to watch over the place, to be there and be
mm-hmm,
present, and they actually have the key and so forth. Now he he's 16, moving on to 17, and I didn't want to talk so specifics. I gave
mm-hmm,
too much specifics already, but he has other challenges.
mm-hmm,
So he has the volatility challenge because he is at that age group
mm-hmm,
where they are pulled and they have to make decisions about, do they reinforce a certain gangs that are strong in the area right now, and what does presence at the community center mean, right?
mm-hmm,
Is it presence to really act violently with another group who wants to use the space, or is
mm-hmm,
it, how it's that age group that they deal with those decisions of volatility or not. And this is now coupled with him and his friends, their challenges of basic finances to finish up high school. Good.
mm-hmm.
So there's the educational journey that they have challenges with. There's a financial situation they have challenges with, and so these are issues that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, um, with persons who are living in that space and have
Mm-hmm.
to try and solve those problems. Um, Again, you move from the child to the dependent to the one who is responsible, and
Yes.
the problems never stop,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
And as you said, they are under a ZOSO right now. ZOSO means Zone of Special Operations, and it's been going on for months. That the government has saw it fit. It's almost like a state of emergency,
mm-hmm,
for those who are not in Jamaica. And so the government has signed off on a ZOSO, and they have blocked off many of the inlet streets to the community. So there might only be one, two, three, or four streets that you can enter the entire community,
mm-hmm,
because there are these big barricades at the other streets, and at all the major corners you would actually have a little soldier group
mm-hmm,
there.
mm-hmm.
So can you imagine living like that? It's
Carrington.
what does it say to your psyche as a young person growing up in that type of space?
Yeah. So having been in that community for 19 years, what are some of the programs or the services that you provide for
Those
young men and even young girls in that community?
Okay, I'd like to answer that question in two ways. The first way I would really answer that question is coming off of my journey, right? So remember, I shifted from solving a specific problem to um, doing my educational journey, which I can tell you in a second, has had climax with a PhD in social change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So instead of becoming a medical doctor that solved specific problems, I became a philosophical doctor, PhD, a doctorate of philosophy, to to look at a setting in a holistic fashion, in a systematic fashion for social change. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is that's the direction that me and my team is to actually build relationships with the community, understand the dynamics of community, and City Life Ministries, which is my community-based CBO, community-based organization,
Mm-hmm.
is an organization that facilitates change, facilitates projects, different types of projects. So I'll say that first, that
Mm-hmm.
our number one role in social change is as a facilitator, is to actually, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about some specific problem projects in a second, but our role in the change is facilitation. And so what we do best is build relationships with the community and with stakeholders, and we facilitate different types of projects in the community. So an
Mm-hmm.
example is that summer, the summer that just passed, there's a young lady called Ginger Brooks, Dream
Mm-hmm.
Keepers International. You can Google Dream Keepers International. Um, she's an educator, long-standing educator in the States, in North Carolina. She's
Mm-hmm.
always been connected in some way or form with my family and the ministry. But she asked us maybe a year ago, she wanted to connect with what we're doing in Southside in a more significant way. And so what we were able to do is we were able to, first of all, facilitate a visit for her alone months ago, probably earlier in the year, for her to come and visit the community, to walk the streets,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to connect with the kids in the streets. We facilitated visits to the elementary and primary schools
Mm-hmm.
in the community. Why? Because we could. We knew the principals, we knew the kids, and so we exposed her to the official organizations in the community, as well as just the life of the people and the kids who were and still are her target group. Then we were able to go back to the planning table with her and plan a summer day camp in
Mm-hmm.
the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was the City Kids Dream Keepers camp. It was last summer, and so we were able to facilitate her to come back with her life changing resources to now pull together a group of 40, 50 kids from the actual community to be hosted by one of the primary schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a life-changing week for those kids, and it will now continue because we're now planning with the two or three primary schools to now have an after-school program called Dream Keepers. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like a club, so
Right.
kids will be able to select the option of being a part of the Dream Keepers Club.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a perfect example of what's the role that City Life played. Well, City
Mm-hmm.
Life no is based in the community. We're not a mission. We're not a mission organization. Our address is 8 Heilburn Street. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
54 Water Lane. So
Mm-hmm.
our community center is on Heilburn Street, but our legal address is 53 and 54 Water Lane.
So let me understand
So
something. Let me understand something. Do you pray with them? Do you feed them? Do you clothe them? What exactly do these people come to you for?
they come to us for everything.
Mm,
So what has happened even over the last 2 weeks, it was back to school,
mm-hmm.
and so we have supported. Let's talk about clothes. We have supported some kids with uniforms, clothing, and with school bags, right? So practical things like that. During COVID, there were a lot of challenges with basic necessities, with
Mm-hmm.
medicine, with food, and so forth. And so we were able to do a fundraiser to support them in that way. So we support all the way down to the basics,
Mm-hmm.
good, but we're able to support them in different ways because we are with them and we are positioned both socially and I would call it professionally with the outside world so that we can facilitate those types of the transition of resources, which is not always material.
Mm-hmm.
Resources could be people resources, certain policies to be put in place. We're able to facilitate those types of offerings to the people in the community. So the answer is yes, yes for food, although we wouldn't brand ourselves as a feed the poor
Right.
organization. Good.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if somebody, so we do it on a need by need basis. But if somebody says that they're in Florida and they want to send clothing on a monthly basis, we would connect them with another organization, with a Salvation Army or another organization that is active in the community that is actually set up to to do and play that role in the community.
Pastor Morgan, I'm gleaning that you're actually living with them. You're a part of them. It's like a Hudson Taylor mentality. You become a part of them to serve them, building relationships. How do you create boundaries?
How do we create boundaries? I don't think of it as boundaries. I think of it as roles.
Right.
So our two parameters is two R's: roles and relationships, roles and relationships, roles and relationships. So we're always seeking to deepen our relationship with the people and with the community itself. So over the years, um, I and some of my team members, but I've really spent a lot of time in the community day and night. And so I'm able to get deeper and deeper in the life of the community because there are different levels of relationships to really understand the underbelly of the community and how things work off the air. Good.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is always to increase the depth of connection and the depth of relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to boundaries are important, and but the approach is to now look at roles.
Mm-hmm.
What is my role in your life, which would then distinguish what is not my role in your life. Good. So if my role is father, then as far as father is concerned, there are no boundaries. We will now build on that father-son relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm father, not mother. So if you need mothering, then that automatically is a boundary because that is not my role in your life. I am
Mm-hmm.
not your mother. So if you need mothering, let us now look for a mother. So that's the way that I look at it. So
Right.
here's a practical example. City life does city life itself is not the father and the mother, the caretaker, the direct caretakers of the kids. And so we act as facilitators. But we do not, I can't say it has never happened on a one-off basis, but our policy is not to be the ones who are handing out the the school bags or the food or the whatever is needed. Our mode of operation is to empower the caregivers, good,
Gotcha.
or empower the influencers.
Mm-hmm.
So
Profound. Mm-hmm.
right. So we just got 50 bags through the Dream Keepers project, and I didn't become the Superman to now go in the community to hand out bags. I'm not a politician, so I don't need that type of reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a couple of my guys and I asked them, how many kids do you know that need? Good. You have 5 kids. You're connected to 4 kids. And I gave those bags in sets out to those young men or out to those parents. We we provide and empower those who need to now be reinforced within their role. So it's roles and relationships. So I didn't see it as a boundary for me. I just saw it as, well, it's not my role to feed your kids. It's your
Mhm.
role to feed your kids. So if the kids are hungry, I don't want the kids to be thinking about Pastor Peter, brown man from outside. I don't want them to have that picture in their head of, I am hungry, I need somebody else. No, if the kids are hungry, they need to go to their caregiver
Mhm.
and cry
Mhm.
to their caregiver. Good.
Mhm. Right.
And the caregiver now needs to bother me, right?
Mhm.
So when the young man calls me at 10 o'clock in the night, I pick up that phone, right? Because that's the role I play for him.
Mhm.
Somebody is tugging on his tail to provide for them. And
Mhm.
I will be one of his options. I can't be his savior, but I can be one of his options to now solve that problem.
Mhm.
So the caregivers can call me, but I don't want no children calling me begging me for school
Right.
fees.
Right. Right.
Right.
That's absolutely important and profound, and it also builds a level of respect I can see as well. My question to you now: what keeps you up at night when you think of your community?
This is a God thing again. I move towards people, but I am a systems developer. God has given me two things. He given me a brain and a heart. My heart is tugged by the needs of the people,
Mhm.
but my brain works, and my brain is a systems solver. So what keeps me up at night? If a system of support has broken down or is not working,
Mhm.
right? Because I know that no matter how, if we go down there tomorrow and feed 5 kids, yeah. If we go down there another day and feed 10, yeah. But we won't be there forever. So the
Mhm.
best thing that we can do is establish and reinforce social systems that will now be able to function. The
Yes.
community, the community is really a living organism with
Mhm.
different living systems.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that this is my area of study. God
Mhm.
allowed me to learn about physiology to now translate that over into social systems, but I
Mhm.
still see it as a living organism. So I am kept up at night if there's a breakdown in the system because that cannot happen.
Mhm.
That's why
That's
that's why I'm up at night.
and that's absolutely very, very important. You're building people to help themselves because you're not going to be there forever.
Good,
Awesome.
good, good,
Awesome.
good. I want to bring up Isaiah 61. That is our scripture.
Mm-hmm.
And Isaiah 61 speaks about that type of empowerment. It starts spiritually with Jesus saying, "The Spirit of the Almighty God is upon me." So that has caused him to move. However, it does not only cause him to go down and preach, it's caused
Mm-hmm.
him to impart a certain type of influence and spirit into actual persons who are within the broken spaces, who become the builders of that city, the rebuilders of that city. And so that is our spiritual and practical philosophy of going into somebody's space, imparting something to them both spiritually, mentally, practically, so that they can be those builders of their space.
Dr. Peter Morgan, Carrington Morgan. So many names, so many functions.
Mhm.
Awesome. And before we finish this broadcast today, I want to ask you one last question, maybe the second to last question. And that is, what is your greatest reward? One of your greatest reward
Mhm.
since you started until now. Talk to us about that experience.
Good. My greatest reward is to see what we have invested in at work, operational. God has always reminded me about his own investment in us in his first 6 days. And I can only imagine how he felt on the seventh day being able to look at his creation in motion. So on a me imperfect my own life journey, there's a a picture, a live picture that always remains in my head. It is of me sitting on our little balcony. We were given a huge warehouse type of space which has an semi-indoor soccer football turf, and so we've set it up for the young men to come and um, play soccer. So for them coming into this safe space represent a lot of different things, and it
Mm-hmm.
has taken a lot for us to renovate the space, for them to build relationships enough where they would feel safe to come in, and for them to almost own the space and be free to do their thing. So I remember sitting on our balcony and just sitting watching them do their mini tournament, which they put together. And for me to sit back and watch something in motion that took years to really put together, both on a practical level and on a relationship level and impartation level, for them to be doing what they love to do within our space, enjoying it, passionate about what they're doing. It was a picture of transformation at a small level, but that is what gives me true joy and true fulfillment. Seeing something that we have invested in, a life changing situation, actually living, not just working, but operating and living. That is my joy, and that is what I'm grateful for God to have given me these little excerpts within our lifetime. Not only in Southside, but I work in other communities. Um, but the job is never done because the challenges remain. We do want to see bigger change, more sustainable change. We're fortunate that God can really show through us transformation at the individual level, at the family level, at the corner level, right? And then hopefully at the community level. Transformation is happening, right? We may not see the soldiers off of the corner tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? But in the meantime, God can show us real life changing situations um, within the community setting.
Amen. And so, Dr. Carrington Morgan, I just want to use this opportunity to thank you for serving the nation of Jamaica. Thank you for the sacrifice that you have made to reach the hearts of those people others forget. Thank you. And how can our listeners support this ministry?
Well, first of all, we are based on relationship and we are on a journey. So I would ask any and everybody to follow us on this journey. The best way to do it is through Instagram. Our Instagram page is City Life JA. So go on to Instagram, look for City Life JA, and follow us on Instagram. The best thing that you can do for us for step one is to be a part of our journey. Now, along this journey, God will tug on your heart in a particular way. Good. And we would then ask that you give of yourself or of your connected resources in the most appropriate way. It could be financial, but it could also be presence. It could be a particular connection that you make for us, right? So follow us on this journey. Um, you can give directly to the ministry. You can send us a message on that same Instagram page, and we'll be in touch with you about the best way to give. Or if you're in Jamaica or visiting Jamaica, you can actually come and walk the streets with us. Every Sunday evening at 4 o'clock, we do our city walk. So we do not have a church service, right? Our ministry is to walk the streets of the community and be that extension of the church in the streets. So we sit on the corner and talk to the guys. We go into the homes, spent time with the people in their living setting, and that is where we would say a prayer. That is where we would give an empowering scripture. Good. That is where we do our ministry. We bless the kids. We pray for the homes and for the business places. It is the church in action outside the walls of the sanctuary. Good. Sanctuary is important. The extension of the body of Christ in the lives of the people is also important. And so that is how we operate. So we want you to be a part of that. Stay connected with us, and God will tug on your heart what is the best way that you can support what we're doing. City Life JA.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out to share with
It
us
was
on
my pleasure.
raw and unedited stories on GodScoop. And we just want to thank our listeners for tuning in today. And if you have a story to share, you can put your information in the link below and we will contact you. Have a phenomenal day.